things we're able to do with our fire museum is to be able to show the progression of fire helmets in the United States, starting in about 1744 and even a little bit earlier than that. One of the helmets that showed up, and it's not actually a helmet, but it was what they wore at the time, and when they fought fire, they never changed their hats. They used the tricorn. Benjamin Franklin's fire company, when he first started it, this was the hat that they all wore. That was the standard issue. There weren't any fire helmets at that time. In about 1744, a man named Jacobus Tuck came along, and he invented a leather stovepipe hat. Now they call these leather stovepipe parade hats. They were made out of 3 different mediums. This one happens to be leather. They were also made out of paper, and they were also made out of felt. The paper and the felt helmets were used strictly for parades, where the leather helmet was actually used for firefighting. They wore these hats to fight fire in the United States from 1744 till about 1858. In 1858, another man came along named Gratacap, and he decided to take the top hat and move it down a little bit so it'd have better protection when somebody got hit on the head, because they started using different tactics now for fighting fires. They were actually going inside, where with the stovepipe hats they didn't go inside. This was a pretty good hat at the time, and it flowed the liquid away from the wearer, and it was very lightweight, and there were a lot of these made by saddleries, by professional companies, but sometimes in a little town the only people there that could make leather helmets were the guys that made the saddles for the horses. So that's what they came to. A little later they made them a little bit more fancier. They turned up the brim so the water would flow to the rear, and they added some other brims on it, or other parts on it, so that it would take a little bit more hit on the top of the head. This one happens to be from probably around 1895, somewhere in that era. Then, so that firefighters could identify themselves by their companies, they started using the front of piece and something we call a finial. Now this finial is a phoenix. The reason we know it's a phoenix is because it has this eyebrow up here. The company, as you can see, is Rainbow Fire Company. This happens to be from Reading, Pennsylvania, and it's from about 1890, and it again incorporates the fact that when you get hit on the head or water hits you up here, it's going to run the water to the back of the helmet instead of on the front of the helmet. This also happens to be a parade helmet, however, and it was worn clear up into the early 1900s by the men of that company for parades and whatnot. If you see on the back here, 1773, that was actually not the year of the helmet, that was actually the year that the Rainbow Fire Company was formed. And in 1773 they were wearing stovepipes. A little later, Cairns came out with their aluminum hat. This was called a Senator, and the Senator was extremely popular throughout this country. Again, it has a phoenix. This one happens to be from the Guasti Winery Fire Department in Ontario, California, which is no longer in existence. And these hats were worn all over Southern California, all over the East Coast, and again they were very popular, and they wore them clear up into the 50s when OSHA decided that it would be safer if they had an electrical standard in their fire helmet standard, and that negated taking these all out of service. So you didn't see them anymore. Now there was a fellow in LA named Forker, F-O-R-K-E-R, and Forker liked the aluminum helmet, but he also wanted to make aluminum helmets because he was a tinsmith, and being a member of the fire service, he got in and found out what these were going to cost, and he underbid them with this helmet. And the way he made this was, there was actually an airplane that crashed behind his house in a canyon, and that airplane was covered with aluminum, and so he started taking that aluminum off of there and taking it to a little park. And the reason he took it to the park because the neighbors told him they wanted him out of the neighborhood for continued tapping on this thing to do it, because this was all handmade, where this was actually stamped. And he made several thousand of these for the LA City Fire Department and the LA County Fire Department. This helmet here, it shows up on eBay, is very, very, very expensive, but they're pretty good. This one happens to be engine 56 in the LA Fire Department. This belonged to a fireman named Ernie Leisure, who actually died in the line of duty. The crossover pieces of helmets became very popular. In about 1935, Mine Safety Appliance Corporation came out with their helmet, some refer to as a war baby, but it's really not. And it has a crossover piece on the top here. This helmet was extremely popular clear up until the 1940s. And in 1942, MSA decided they weren't going to make this helmet anymore. And why they did, I don't know, because it was very, very popular. In fact, there's actually fire departments that took this helmet and made fiberglass molds out of it and made their own helmets so they would have the same design of a helmet. What MSA came up with was this style of helmet here. This was a top guard. This helmet was extremely well liked by a lot of firemen. This happens to be one that in about 1949-50 the LA City Fire Department went to, and they had these clear up until 1962 when they went to a polycarbonate version of this helmet, and then finally to injection molded helmet in about 1976. I show this helmet because this is kind of a unique helmet. This is what they call a hard-boiled helmet. It was made by the Bullard Corporation back in 1915, and what they did was they took a material and they put rosin and mineral spirits in it and then heated it so that it would get into the material and then formed it and then dried it, and that's what became their fire helmet in 1915. This happens to be from Carmel, and it's about a 1905 or not 1905, it's more like around a 1920 helmet that was used by them. And these were used all over California. Bullard did a bang-up job in trying to get those put out in different places. Now I'll tell you a little bit about our fire helmet, the first do. We took a lot of these designs from these helmets when my partner and I first designed this helmet, and we put them in. We took a little bit from MSA, we took a little bit from the old MSA, we took the comfort from some of the leather helmets, and we were able to put together in our helmet some of those designs incorporating all of the aspects of the history of the fire helmet in the United States. We also have some European look in there too. Our leather fire helmet kind of matches the feel and comfort that they wore back in the 1890s and 1900s that was extremely comfortable. We knew that when we put it together, and we tried to copy that, and we're right on. People say our helmet is, our TL2, which is our leather helmet, is very, very comfortable. So if you have any questions about anything in our museum, be sure to give us a call. And if you're in the neighborhood, drop by. We're open 8 to 5 every day, 5 days a week, and we'd be more than happy to take you on a little tour. Thanks for watching.